Hey everyone, welcome back to a new college football season. And you're with the boys from the Rollin' and Dope podcast. It's me, your host, Nick, with me as always, Troy and Dylan. Fellas, welcome back. How we doing?
Oh man, I'm doing phenomenal. I've been waiting for this day for I'd say almost 6 months or something. I don't
Since
even
the
know.
last day of last season. Yeah.
I blacked out. It's been a
Yeah.
while.
Where am I?
Man,
Yeah.
football's back,
Dylan?
guys. Football's back. I have it on the TVs behind us, watching these Thursday games as we're talking. Gosh, it's the best time of the year. Let's just be
You
honest.
boys,
It is.
you boys know how I know football's back?
How?
The shellacking I took on Saturday by taking every over. I took every over in college football, and we went 1-6. Luckily, we're not going to count. Week 0 doesn't count. We all know that. But 1-6, dude. So the worst part, right? I was texting, and I'm like, yeah, I went 2-5. It was okay. Whatever, it happens. Blah blah blah. And this individual I'm texting says to me, "No, you went 1-6." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" Well, one of the games, it was 24-23. The team just scored a touchdown. They needed to get the extra point to send it to overtime. The over/under was 49, right? So once they scored the touchdown to get to 23, I turned it off because I'm like, oh, we're good. So I went on to the next game. They didn't get the extra point. The game ended 24-23. No 49. You lose. Thanks for playing. So
College kickers, man.
so glad, college kickers, baby. I actually don't know if they went for 2. I'm just so disgusted, but so glad to be back.
Yeah.
So, everyone, we know how this works. We're going to pick a few games. We're going to end with the most important game, as always. Before we actually have a new segment that we're going to bring onto the show this year. It's a little, it's pretty near and dear to my heart. I think Troy, Dylan, and I were all talking about doing it last year, and we're finally getting off the ground. It's the not a celebrity pick of the week. I think it's important to have the everyman making picks. So can't wait to hear from our not so famous celebrity picking for us this week. We'll tune into that a little bit later on. But before we get started with our picks, let's start off with last year. Troy, congratulations. Dylan, give the man a clap. Come on.
I'm disgusted at the behavior on this podcast. I mean, he's had this banner on the bottom for far too long. I think everyone gets the point.
Yeah, that's pretty brutal. But I'll Troy. So if you bet with Troy last year, you actually won money. 59% of his picks were correct. Wow, Troy. Actually,
I'd say that's above the standard there.
That's pretty good, man. So congratulations, but congratulations, Troy. I'm not too mad about where I'm at, considering a few of my picks were alternate lines from Texas Tech. So I'm happy, almost 50%. If you bet with me, you were pretty much even. So I'll take that. Then coming in last place, we call him our sharp. Dylan.
So here's the thing.
What
At least
happened?
you learned a lesson in gambling. You learned how the common man works, and the common man, when he sees he's in striking distance, which we were the last 2 weeks of Troy, you chase, you go big, you start making about 12, 15 picks on 5 games a week, and you see what you can do. And guess what? You end up losing. That's why you don't chase. But even though we tell ourselves not to, we still do it, and that's how you end up at 40, almost 43%.
Yeah, I mean, I think we all know about chasing, but yeah, hey, look, hey, new season, fellas, new season. Can't wait to see. I think we're gonna have to put. I don't know if we have anything yet, but I think we're gonna have to put some type of bet amongst each other on this. Something maybe not a pepper this time around, but something to spice it up here. Whoever comes in last place, let's put some hair on this.
Yeah,
but we can figure that out later. But without further ado, let's get into these games. Super excited to get started here.
That graphic, please.
Yeah, Troy. Yeah. We're also doing a new thing. If you can't tell below, we have graphics, which Troy just totally struggled.
He's just leaving his first place up there for a very long time.
We talked before this, and we said that, hey, Troy, you're just going to need to just pay a little bit of attention. You'll know when to cue the graphic, and You left me hanging there. Thank you, Troy. You literally did what you didn't want to do. All right. So anywho, we've got number 14 Clemson versus number 1 Georgia. Georgia's favored by 12.5 for the over under at 48. Dylan, let's hear from you, Mr. Last Place himself, getting to kick us off this year.
So after a year of thought, you go through and you have to reevaluate. And I had to look in the man in the mirror and I had to decide, do I like what I'm looking at? And the answer was no. So we're changing things up a little bit.
Uh-oh.
I hate unders.
Don't do
This
it.
game's going under 48. These are some great defenses that are going to go face to face. Plus, you have a Clemson team who, Dabo's not the biggest portal guy. We've all learned that, right? He's developing talent there. So hopefully they come ready to play. Now they're running into a wagon, but I'm just going to go ahead and back the defenses. So give me Clemson plus the points and give me the under in the game. I feel dirty betting this under.
Dylan, are you not afraid that the wheels will come off the wagon?
We're talking wagons still. I like wagons.
Hey, you brought up the wagons. I'm just asking the questions here. Troy, your thoughts. Try to stay away from wagons, please.
Yeah, I don't look at them. I've stayed away from them for a while now.
Never have. Hey, I've been off the wagon for a while, okay?
Yeah, so it's the first game of the year. Nick, you touched on it earlier. And Dylan, you took the words right out of my mouth. But Clemson is going to be interesting this year. They finished the year extremely strong. I say extremely strong. They finished the year strong, right? They won their last 5 games, which 2 of them were against SEC opponents and 2 of them were ranked. So impressive wins without closing it out in their bowl game too as well. So Klubnik is coming back, and he played all 13 games last year. And his stats didn't really blow you away. But one thing to call to caution is that he was sacked 20 times last year. And against a Georgia line, of course, Klubnik's got another year under his belt. But first game of the year, one of the top defensive lines, I'd keep a close eye on that. And ETN, I think, might be out the first half, if not the whole game, with some off-the-field issues that he had. And so I think a couple of those things will cause it to be a slower-paced game. Georgia obviously had a bunch of players go in the draft. It was 8 players. That's usual form, though, so that's nothing that's changed. But it was 2 of Beck's primary targets, right? And so it's going to take some getting used to for him. I mean, he's going to be a stud quarterback anyway. But because of that, I think they'll be an interesting pace. And I actually had the under. When I looked at it on Sunday, I really liked it, and I don't like it as much now. I saw it at 49.5, and now I got it at 48. So I'm going to go ahead and lock it in before it drops down even more.
Troy, you said 5 games was strong. What would take very strong? Because you stopped. You said very strong, and then you went back.
Yeah, I think a 9-win season or 10-win season. I think extremely strong would probably double digits, but
you said finished extremely strong. So
you're right. That's yeah.
I mean, 5 wins in a row.
You can't finish any stronger technically. So
no.
Yeah, maybe a couple of shutouts then, I guess, is the answer to that question.
Interesting. Okay, just curious.
Yeah.
So I was obviously burned by the overs last weekend. I like the unders. I think first game trying to feel out each other. Georgia again losing a lot of talent to the league. Just going to take them a little bit of time to get back and going. I think Georgia. I almost like the minus 12.5 because Clemson's just not, even though they finished very strong, Troy, last year, I'm just not a big believer in them, like from a few years back. But let's go with under 48 here. I'll take Georgia, or I'll take the under.
Fellas, you got to hate that. I mean,
Dear
all
God.
3 of us.
We agree.
Well, I was hurt last week, dude.
Yeah, and he doesn't like to be hurt.
And you know what the worst part is, man? A lot of those games, like the first quarter, had a lot of points, and they just stopped. So, yeah. So yeah, we can, we're done with this. I mean, we can just keep going. So we got number 8, Penn State University versus Western Virginia University. West Virginia is plus 7.5 over 51.5. I am going to go first here, and I am going to take Penn State minus 7.5. I am not a believer in West Virginia like some are. I do not think that they are the dark horse to win the Big 12. I think that Neil Brown's going to find himself in big trouble again this year. I know he cooled his seat last year. I think it heats right back up. So I don't believe in West Virginia. Prove me wrong, but only thing on fire that weekend is going to be those couches. Troy, what do you think?
Yeah, a couple of stats for y'all. So, well, first of all, they played each other last year, and I think Penn State won by 3 scores.
Troy, question.
Go ahead.
You said 3 scores?
3 scores and some.
Can I do some math for you?
Yep.
Even if those 3 scores were field goals, that's still 9 points, which is still over 7.5.
What about 3 safeties?
I haven't seen that done in ages.
I don't want to talk, Dylan. Let's not go there. Sorry, Troy, continue.
Yeah, so with that being said, Dylan, that's an interesting way to go about things. I like it. I'm going to go with 3 safeties this game.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah. Anyway, but Aller's back again, and he is a pretty effective effective quarterback, I would say. Penn State's also returning a lot of their production on the offensive side of the ball. He threw 25 touchdowns, only 2 interceptions. But when you look at it, a little bit of stat padding there. So in a couple of games, and this West Virginia one being one of them. So,
okay.
But last year the only losses they had were to Ohio State, Michigan, Ole Miss, right? And so the usual suspects for this year. And so Penn State, can they get over the big games will be a question this year. Nick, you already touched on Neil Brown, right? They finished with a 9-4 record, which was extremely impressive. But what was a little bit interesting was Garrett Green. He is a super senior, but the question's always been about his consistency, right? He can run the ball decent, but only completes about half his passes. Either throwing it downfield, there's nothing too crazy about his game. So I think Penn State's a little more sophisticated than that. And so I think they'll be able to put a rain on their parade in this game. I think they'll be able to hold them. 7.5.
I'm sorry. Did you say put a ring on this parade?
Rain. The rain on the parade of being 9-4. I think they're happy about last season, but I think they're going to I like Penn State to cover the 7.5 in this one.
Thank you. Dylan.
Fellas. You both have young children, and I know that both of you hope the best for their futures. And one way for you guys to make that a certainty is put everything you own on Penn State. This Penn State team is going to dominate West Virginia. We almost underrate Penn State because they're little brother to Ohio State and Michigan in that conference. But every year, they're still the model of consistency. This Penn State defense is going to be way too much and West Virginia, I agree with Nick 100%. They're a fraud. I mean, they looked good last year because they beat up on us when we were all injured. I mean, there's nothing about them think about it. Their coach was about to be fired last year. Yeah. And just because they got on a little run, now he's all of a sudden the best thing ever. So,
Troy, we don't need your stats to tell us that.
I think we're underrating this Penn State team. And quite frankly, I don't think this will be close. I'll take the 7.5 gladly. And it sounds like we agree again, guys.
Man.
We're gonna need to change something up. We might all be tied by the end of the year.
All right. Well, I'm glad. Hey, that's one way that we don't lose. All right. Next game, we've got 19 Miami versus Florida plus 2.5 over under 53.5. Troy, lead us off. What do you think here, bud?
All right, so it's fitting that we just finished with West Virginia because we have another coach that could be a Neil Brown coach this year with Billy Napier, right? He's on in a hot seat. And Cristobal's not doing great either, but I think Napier is probably on the hotter of the two seats. And so Florida's coming in with an extremely tough schedule this year. I think they said it's the toughest of all time. Luckily, they get a game at home, so we'll see what's happening. Relative to Miami, I mean, they got Cam Ward this offseason, so offense should be clicking. They also bolstered up their defense as well and the defensive line. And so with it being at the Swamp, man, I think I'm going to go Florida to cover the – what do we got here? 2.5 at home. They need to win early because I don't think there's many wins left on their schedule after this.
Wow. Dylan, thoughts?
Yeah, I hate my pick on this one. I think everyone's been big on Miami with all the transfers. Troy, you talked about Cam Ward. That offense should look fun, be exciting, but how long does that take to click? And you're going into the Swamp, which I still want to believe the Swamp's a hard place to play, which at the beginning of the season, you have all the hope in the world, so it should be. Again, Florida has had you said it, a tough schedule this year, go ahead of them, but last year a tough schedule as well. I'm going to go ahead and take Florida at home. I want the 2.5, Troy, and I want the money line as well. Give me the Gators. They're going to win this game.
Give the kid the Gators, Troy.
You got it.
Money line. Book it.
Book it.
I'm taking the over 53.5. I just feel sexy saying Miami versus Florida. Yeah.
You look at you, Nick, all right? Don't forget it.
I'm feeling it. That's an over. Those two teams, that's just got overwritten all over it. Give me it.
You got it. Hey, it's in. All right?
Oh.
It's booked.
Yeah, I'm feeling it, baby. All right. Moving right along. Number 7, Notre Dame versus 20 Aggie. We've got Notre Dame -3.
No.
A&M -3.
Yeah, it's at Kyle Field.
Sorry, I thought that was a typo.
Nope.
Wow.
Not
A
here.
little disrespect for the 7th team in the nation, huh? And then the over-under 46.5. Wow. Dylan.
Yeah, so this A&M defense is going to be very good. This Notre Dame offensive line struggled a little bit last year, but they got some production returning. Now it begs the question that we always ask, is it good to return production if it's not very productive? I don't know. We'll find out. I think this A&M defense will exploit the offensive line. That being said, I hate Aggie, so give me Notre Dame +3 and Notre Dame money line. I hate Aggie. I'm not taking Aggie.
I'm also going to take, give me Notre Dame. Do we get extra points for money line?
I don't want an extra point. I just want it as a pick because I want to flood the sheet with picks again. Because I want this game as much as I can get it.
Give me Notre Dame +3. I don't believe in Aggie.
Got it.
Period.
It's in.
Troy?
Awesome. So Notre Dame, Dylan already talked about production, right? They are returning 72% of their defensive production, and they were top 8 in defense last year. And so Dylan already touched on what kind of game that this is going to look like. The other key piece of information is Riley Leonard is now the quarterback at Notre Dame. That's hard to replace Sam Hartman. He's pretty
handsome
consistent.
man.
Yeah,
handsome
the
man,
looks.
very handsome.
Troy,
solid looks.
Troy, dude, your stats. Look, I know they're accurate. I know they're,
don't check.
I know they're right. But you got to use your heart.
I didn't use my heart last year. So A&M also has a lot of turnover with not their roster, but obviously a new coaching staff. And so that will be interesting. I just can't imagine it all goes right for the transfers they took in, for the 2 head coaches. Maybe it's a great day at Kyle Field, but that's against a tough Notre Dame team. And so I'm actually going to take
7th in the nation.
I know, exactly. I'm going to take the under at 46.5, and then Notre Dame to cover 3 points.
Love it. Love it.
Go.
All right, moving right along. We got number 23, USC versus 13 LSU. LSU favored by 4 points. Over under 64. It kind of feels like Caleb Williams never left. Jeez. Troy, what are you picking?
I think I'm going to ride with two new quarterbacks. They both went pretty crazy in their bowl games, which isn't a key indicator by any means. But I was just curious why USC was so close in this one. Neither team plays defense, so I'm gonna go with the over at 64.
Neither team plays defense. Dylan?
Neither team plays defense, so I'll take the over 64 for sure. I love that play. Remember the name Miller Moss. If there's one thing they do at USC, they coach quarterbacks. And Miller Moss, take him as a Heisman hopeful, guys. If USC is anywhere good, everyone's gonna buy into the hype, and then if they're winning, he'll be the reason why. Also, I didn't know which way to go, but if everything I just said happens, then that would mean USC is probably good. So give me USC +4 and give me USC money line.
So, couple things, Dylan. Just so you know, I hate to fact check you, but every school, for the most part, coaches a quarterback. So, not just USC.
I've seen some quarterbacks out there that beg to differ.
I'm waiting for you to say like Navy or something.
Yeah.
Navy doesn't have a quarterback. They got 3 running backs back there. I also was not aware that neither team fielded a defense, is what you guys are making it sound like.
They don't.
So basically, they just kind of are playing pitch and catch, and hopefully the receiver doesn't trip.
Yep.
Yeah, it's like when it's Mahomes.
Well, I'll take the over then. Then that means one team will score. Is that over under for one team?
No, unfortunately, it's for both.
Well, that's not unfortunate. That's even better because apparently both these teams are about to score 100 points each. So I will take the over. I'm back on the over train. Let's do it. I love it.
Awesome.
I love it.
Don't look now, but Colorado's losing by 6.
I know.
Don't look.
That makes me so happy.
Oh, I'm looking.
The
Taco Bell commercial.
Oh man, we've got our game of the week. We've got our game of the week, guys. We're talking TTU. Can I finish?
Let him finish with the Taco Bell game of the week.
Is this the Taco Bell? Yeah, we sponsored again. Sponsored by Taco Bell. Live Moss. All right, TTU versus Abilene Christian. Texas Tech is favored by 32.5. The over-under is 57.5. Troy, what do you think?
Our Red Raiders. Oh, man.
We're back, baby.
We're back. My only concern is that we're going to win by too much. And that just makes it all a little bit more difficult to cover these things, you know? If you're up by so much, if you're up by 100, you already covered then.
What are you talking about?
I don't know.
I'm lost.
I blacked out there for a second.
I'm scared.
I think what you're trying to get at is if you go up by too much early, then you take your foot off the gas and you're not going to hit 32.5. Is that what you're saying?
But 100's over 32.5.
Yeah.
The math didn't math. What I was trying to do was I was trying to find the Texas Tech team over, and I couldn't find it. And so you came to me. I wasn't expecting to go first, and so you caught me off guard.
That's why I like to keep people on their toes. Yeah. Did you find the team over?
No, but I'm just gonna go ahead and take it no matter what it is. So I'll lock that in, and I'll take Tech to cover 32.5.
Thank you, Troy. Riveting stuff. Dylan,
it's not listed yet. It's the spread's too big.
So
yeah.
If Tech scores too much points, then how do they do this? Whatever Troy was saying. I'll go ahead and take...
I don't know what Troy was saying.
Listen.
I mean, Texas Tech, guys. Texas Tech. 32.5 cover. And then Troy was on to something. He just kind of got off, off track there. We're going to score so many points that the over 57.5 is going to hit. So give me Tech to cover and give me the over.
Let me pose a question. Do you guys think because there's so much Red Raider ties to ACU that we take our foot off the gas and don't crush them?
I think we are just too talented that we'll take our foot off the pedal, but we're already 100 points in.
That's what I said.
I'll take the over 57.5. I'm taking over 57.5. And to Dylan's point, I don't think it's going to be like a two-sided affair that ACU really helps us. I'm thinking like we're going to maybe touch 57.5 by ourselves.
Very good.
Yeah. So that's what we got for the picks. Now, like I mentioned at the beginning of the show, we've got a new segment. It's the not so famous celebrity guest picker of the week. And we're super excited to have this gentleman on. I'm not going to spoil it. I'll let Troy cut to it, but I'm going to give you a little hint. He's made some appearances on the Don't Be Scared podcast, and he's got a lot to say about Bigfoot and other spooky, scary things. And now he's got a lot to say about some picks. So I'm going to kick it over to Troy. Troy?
Hey, Dylan, thanks for turning it over to us. And I've got a brand new segment called the Not a Celebrity Guest Picker. And with me is Anthony. Anthony, let's jump right into it. I got a couple of interesting facts about you. And the first one being is you've ensured that the Dementia name will carry on for generations. How'd you do that?
Oh, quite simple, actually. I had 2 sons. There you go.
That's very impressive. As another Dementia, I've had a girl. And so thank you for being able to do that.
Thank you for your compliment.
No problem. And then the next thing, I've heard you've tackled Nick Foles. Can you elaborate on that?
So, here's an interesting fact. As football is a team game, I actually don't remember any of the football games I played because it's not just about the 1 man or the 11 men or the 22 men or the 85 men on the sideline or the coaches in the booth. We all beat as one. So everything they did, I did, and everything I did, they did. So maybe I did. Maybe I didn't. All I know is the pass was incomplete.
Wow. Well, for that, I guess it doesn't matter. We'll say that you did in this instance, but all that matters is the 11 men on the field and all those coaches in the box. And the last thing, you're built different. On the scouting material I was able to find, a couple of the items that were noted about you is you're like a bull in a china shop. You're a natural bender. And the last one that I thought was a little bit weird was you're like a kid running with a pair of scissors. Can you tell me what that means?
Well, you're going to have to pardon my French here, Troy, but I have what the French call a certain je ne sais quoi. And you just got to head on a swivel with me. That's it. You're with me, you're on a swivel. You need 360 degrees of rotation because I could be in the east and then in the west, but you need to be prepared for that. Just like a kid with scissors.
I get it now. I appreciate how you explained that and basically just be aware of your surroundings because you think Anthony's not there, but he is. Wow. Well, that's a decent amount of talk about football, but we got even more football for you. So let's get into the games. I got 6 games for you. I need you to pick them for me. So our first game, Clemson versus Georgia. Georgia's favored by 13.5. What do you got?
I think Georgia by 13.5. I think Clemson's a good team. I think they'll compete for the ACC. But, Georgia's a machine. Bet comes back. I think it's a pretty simple 13.5 for Georgia. Lock it up.
Georgia's been the epitome of consistency, so I don't see why you bet against them. So fair enough. All right, next we got a fun one. We got Penn State versus West Virginia. West Virginia plus 8.5. What are your thoughts?
Big James Franklin fan. I think West Virginia caught lightning in a bottle last year. Still not sold on Neil Brown. I think Penn State runs away with it, quite frankly.
James Franklin, quite frankly, running away with it. All right, you got it, Chief. Next, we got a rivalry game. Miami versus Florida. Florida plus 2.5. What do you got?
First bet of the year, I took Florida money line. It has now moved against me, but I like that even more. I think Napier has the guys ready to play, and they'll go out there and get it.
All right, so Florida, and interesting enough, maybe Billy Napier's this year's Neil Brown. Who knows? A lot of doubters. Let's see if he can prove him wrong. The next one is College Game Day. Notre Dame versus A&M. A&M's favored by 3. What are your thoughts?
I'm taking Notre Dame in the points. 3 points going to Kyle Field implies it's really a 1-point game. I just don't believe that. Notre Dame has been in bigger games. They've won bigger games. Elko's a first-time head coach. Freeman has a couple years under his belt now, so we'll go with Notre Dame.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. Lots of new players on that A&M side of the ball and new coach, so it's a tough thing to handle in the first game of the season.
Mm-hmm.
All right, next we got USC versus LSU. LSU's favored by 4.5.
Lincoln Riley, and I hate to say this, reminds me of Cliff Kingsbury. Only interested in the quarterback. I think we saw what they did last year with Caleb Williams. LSU in the 4.5 easy. This is not. USC inspires no confidence in me at all.
Yeah, I think that's fair. They struggled last year with the number 1 quarterback. Yes, it does feel a little bit like Tech. So we'll see what happens relative to USC. And last but not least, I have ACU versus Texas Tech. Texas Tech's favored by 33.5. What happens?
Tech by 50, baby. Wreck 'em.
Tech by 50. That means we get a 50 burger. The boys get burgers. Well, Anthony, I appreciate your picks. I appreciate your time. And thank you for being our first Not a Celebrity guest picker. Thanks, Anthony.
Thank you for having me, Troy.
Awesome, man. I appreciate it. Dylan, Nick, back to you.
All right. Thanks, Troy and Anthony. Wow. You never cease to amaze me with just you. Thank you so much. And maybe after this, you'll become a famous celebrity guest picker. Who knows? Because what an electric factory that guy is. Just making picks and talking spooky things. Man, what doesn't that guy do? So that's your show, guys. What's that?
I said he's got a lot of je ne sais quoi. Je ne sais quoi. That's Anthony. Yeah.
He's got a lot of chutzpah.
Chutzpah.
Yeah. Hey, that's our show. Thank you guys for tuning in. We're so glad to be back. We are so excited for football season. Thank you for sticking with us through the dog days of summer. And if you're excited to have us back and watching our picks, you're going to love what we got in store for the rest of the year. So please, 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 if you don't already, follow us on X, formerly Twitter. Subscribe to us on YouTube, all the things, Snapchat, anything you can think of, please subscribe to us on there, like our stuff. As always, I'm Nick, Troy, Dylan, thank you so much. This was the Rollin' and Dope podcast presented by TechNTortillas. Wreck 'em.